Hello and welcome to CNBC-TV18.com and Salesforce present Bharat's Trailblazers, a series of conversations with disruptors, game changers and trailblazers. Now, non-banking financial services have emerged as the leading contributor in bank credit performance according to a latest Care Edge ratings report. In recent times, NBFCs have carved a niche area for themselves by understanding customers and then building customized products for them. Auxilo is a pro-education NBFC registered with the RBI that offers financial support through innovative financial solution delivery to a wide network of students as well as to a range of schools, colleges and universities. Today, we're in conversation with Mr. Kumar Lalwani, CTO at Auxilo Finserve, to understand their business objectives and plans for the future. Mr. Lalwani, thanks a lot for joining us today. So, my first question is that every day there's an increasing number of Indian students that wants to go abroad to study. That number is only going up. So, how are you really catering to those students and empowering this big move?
Thanks, Pavitra, for having me here. Yes, I think higher education is in India a very strong aspirational quotient for most of our Indians. And since the economy is now opening up, there's a further spike in demand for students wanting to go abroad for higher education, and hence there's a long list of financial services provider that are started to open in this space for funding, because most of these higher education loans are funded. But the point is there's a lot of supply related constraint in terms of lenders who are operating in this space, because you have a lot of personal loan and home loan service providers. But in an education loan, there's a very small list of players that are operating in its space. I think that's where Auxilo was instituted as an NBFC, which will just focus on the education loans. Okay. Since we have specialized scorecards and algorithms just to understand the dynamics of education loan, that's where we started to believe that this is the space that we'll start playing in.
Okay, got that. So take us through what are the primary areas where you really extend services, and like you mentioned, there are a lot of lenders coming up in this space. So what do you think sets Auxilo apart from other lenders in the category?
See, an education loan, again, unlike a personal loan or a home loan, which just focuses on the customer dynamics, education loan is totally about not just the customers, which is the students themselves, but more so to do with their education, their past academics, the course that they're applying for, the destination country. So there's a lot of variables there in the equation, right? And on top of that, you have your co-applicants who also top it up, because the student cannot himself or herself apply for it. So the kind of data points that are captured becomes far and wide, which is very difficult for a typical bank or another NBFC operating in this space to capture so much of information. That's where I think Auxilo has built that USP to understand not just the customer, but even the inherent job potential, the prospects of the country, the GDP altogether. That's the kind of USP that we have kind of built up.
Okay. So in a sense, you need a much sort of deeper understanding of just a specific area.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, got that. So take us through, you've over the past 5 years, you've been able to scale up this business quite a bit. What are the key challenges that you faced along this 5-year journey?
So we are just very nascent, so we are 5 years old now. So being digitally native was any which ways there from get-go. The systems were built so that we can capture all the data points that are possible in the landscape. However, once the business grew, post 2 years, managing so much of data points, managing the entire transactions was very difficult. And hence there was a dire need to actually go back into the drawing board, start understanding the entire architecture of the technology landscape and build certain unified systems or unified platforms which can check the entire customer profiles right from lead to the disbursement journey. So that scaling up and having a unification of platforms was really the thing that were sitting upon, because the business was just growing exponentially.
Okay, got that. That's the story of a startup also, right?
Yeah.
But take us through, you're the CTO, so take us through how you're really using tech in this entire process to try to automate processes, to help the customer experience as well. Because like you said, this is also a very closely linked to the customer kind of business.
Yes. So we improvise a lot on campaigns. Now these are kind of loans which are not really demanded. The prime objective of a higher education is getting an admission, to the universities abroad. So a financial sanction just becomes a part of it, because it's a very important step. So what we do is we devise out customer campaigns and we target certain segments by which we know we can really get these things moving, right? Initially, it were more generic campaigns where we used to be nurture the leads, but now when we built in, Salesforce as a unified platform, we started building dynamic campaigns. What I mean by dynamic, it's more of deciding the priorities in terms of destination countries, in terms of the course. Now there are certain STEM courses which are to do with science and technology and engineering. So we direct the campaigns there. In terms of the ticket size, we have directed campaigns. So at a click of a button, we can really change these campaigns and then have a very targeted customer engagement by which we start nurturing those leads up.
Okay, very interesting. So take us through, with this digital transformation in place, how have you been able to change the interaction with students and parents both, and are there any kinds of stats that you track that show you how much this transformation is helping?
Yeah. So what we do is, again, we don't want to really overwhelm the parents and students in their journey of getting an admission. So we take care of the intricacies of, how should the loan sanction be done? What are the kind of documents that are required for, going abroad? So we also devised the very, industry first tamper-proof sanction letter, which has a QR code which can really be, scanned by a visa agency or even the universities abroad to, find out that this is genuinely a student, because there are too many, frauds that really happen. So we build those kind of technology levers. On top of that, from a service angle, because most of these guys are, sitting abroad, so for them calling on an 1-800 number is difficult. So with with Salesforce Service Cloud, we build those kind of journeys inherently, whereby the basic things like getting an interest certificate or a statement of account becomes like a millisecond tag. So that's how we put a lot of impetus on customer experience altogether, right? Because that's where the
whole process can anyway be such a headache, right?
Yeah.
So it's good that you can come in and help at this early
and
stage.
it also helps because these students, for a student, an education loan is the foremost loan in its lifespan.
Yeah.
So it's just that there's a lot of onus on getting things right rather than severing the entire experience of a loan journey.
Well, that's a really nice way to look at it, that these are people who are for the first time getting into this space. Are there any KPIs that you think have been impacted by this kind of transformation? Just share some metrics with us. I think that will help our audience understand better as well.
Initially, before we implemented Salesforce, we had the kind of metrics that are typically tracked are, from a lead to login, what are the kind of ratios that come up. So, those typically hover around 25-30%, right? And then there's a metric called as, a login to a disbursement, which is the henceforth journey. Now, with so many systems that we had, mushrooming across, getting access to real-time metrics, calculations, tracking, and improvising was just not possible, right? All we could do is do it post facto when we find out, hey, that, we lost the business or we could have added more advantage. Now with Salesforce really coming in, and since a unified system that I'm really talking about, the metrics are really developed real time. So right from all levels of hierarchy in sales, everybody has access to those metrics, as to where is it that we are losing, where are the bottlenecks involved, right? And we can really start forecasting our entire, I would say targets, as to where is it that we would want to go, say a month from now or a quarter from now. So these metrics, I think, have improvised right the time that we implemented Salesforce. In no time, in about a month, we saw a higher 20% drift in the improvisation in the overall metrics, because the entire dashboard was available real time. So that was one wonderful thing that we could really get it from Salesforce from a metric tracking.
Okay, that's very interesting to know. But this is a very, very tightly regulated space also, right? The entire NBFC space. RBI has very strict guidelines with respect to data security. What are the measures that you have in place to, ensure that the data is secure?
Well, indeed, yes, it's a regulated space, but rightly so. I think with the entire digital personal data protection bill, this is gonna go a way ahead in terms of how do we secure the entire data. But Salesforce has been really since they've been really customer centric product company, they've already, although they built these modules well in advance. So we use certain modules for data shields which improvise the entire encryption and privacy of a customer data. So, and of course with the resilient infrastructure, all these security protocols really become compliant in the eyes of the regulator. And they've gone even a step ahead to, have modules such as, certain things called as RTBF, which is, right to be forgotten, which are just nascent in the Indian geography.
Yeah.
But I think that readiness is anyways there from this stage itself. So I think from a overall regulator, compliance and security both put together, these really become compliant.
Okay, and also this inspires more trust, right, in anyone applying,
right, yeah.
applying through your platform as well. But take us through, you were mentioning how Salesforce has been key in sort of automating a lot of the processes. It has helped you in that respect as well. Why did you pick Salesforce over the others? What makes it stand out?
In the financial services space, having an entire single lens tracking of the leads in the funnel is imperative. And Salesforce being a unified platform wherein you can just build use cases, it actually becomes a natural progression for players like us in the financial services space to have the loan origination systems being built on Salesforce. So, and it's irrespective whether it's the biggest of all banks or the smallest of all players like Auxilo. It really suits the entire bill that we can. It's all on the innovation that a player can really build in and build those journeys up. So hence Salesforce was really, a no-brainer, and then since we had to have a robust and a scalable platform, I think that's where Salesforce really comes into play rather than having multiple products being built into the ecosystem.
Yeah, okay, that would make sense. Just one final question before we wrap up. You've spoken about tech, about transformation. These have been the buzzwords across the industry. But take us to where you see yourself and what is the journey that you envisage for yourself in, say, the next 5 years?
See, with this scalable platform that we have, I think from a business angle, we're taking about 4x targets in next 3 years. So it's very easy to actually get there. But that would not necessarily tantamount to equivalent headcount additions. Because typically, otherwise the businesses go linear. With higher business, you have a higher headcount. But with such unified platforms, I don't need to really have addition in the headcounts, the way my business scales up. So it's a different mechanism. And then with these Gen AIs and scorecards being built inherently within the platform, I can really give the entire power to the customer, who are actually Gen Zs and Gen Alphas of the world, who can really build those decisioning onto them and then choose, which player do they want to go ahead with. So hence we would want to become a lender of choice in this industry, and then work in that direction that not just in terms of business target, but in terms of CX, we should all be there.
Okay, very interesting to know how you already scaled to this level and the plans that you have going forward as well. Thank you, Mr. Lalwani, for joining us today on this special. Auxilo is certainly nurturing the aspirations and helping millions of Indians to face global challenges and also get ready for the world out there. Thanks a lot for tuning in to this very special episode.